Okay, so maybe you guys saw my Dutch video of my workflow in Photoshop. Unfortunately, English is not my native language, so I will try to explain what I'm doing in Photoshop in English, but bear with me. I will do my best. So this is another one picture of the series that I photoshopped in Dutch with my last video, So basically the things I'm going to do are the same. I always start with a blank layer. You can make this by clicking here. And I always start with the retouching pencil. I don't know what it's called in English, but you guys know what it's called. I don't know why it is. Everything is in English except for these things. I don't know why. But I will have a look at some things that I don't like at the picture. So, like this guy that has been in my camera for ages. It's on the lens or inside the camera. I think it's on the mirror. So that's always in my photos. Then you have some birthmarks that I find very distractive, so I will delete those. And some other things that I don't want on the skin. This is your own taste, how much you want to remove. Always make sure you clone a bit of skin that looks like the place you want to clean, so that you don't have a really flat patch of skin that you put over something that has much texture. It will look very weird. So I'm gonna speed this video up while I'm cleaning some things. You don't have to watch me do this for ages. You get the drift. You have to remove all the things that are distracting for the overall picture. And the way you can see those things better is when you zoom out. You see a couple of things that you don't like, and then you can zoom in and remove them. So I'm going to speed the video up and I'll see you guys later. So I just cleaned some stuff up. Now we're going to stage 2 of my retouching workflow, and that are DMB layers, dodge and burn. There are many ways to get them. There are many ways to make them. I'm not going to explain that here. You can find them, for example, in the Beauty Retouch panel from Retouching Academy. There are dodge and burn curves set up, loose layers, visual aids. When you Google it, DMB action or something, you can find it. I've made my own. It's over here. DMB total. I press play. And what I get is dodge layer, a curve layer. That makes things that I unmask with the white pencil, with the white brush, makes it darker. The burn lighter, sorry, dodge makes it lighter. The burn layer makes it darker. Then I have some visual aids, and this is a black and white layer. Sometimes colors can distract you when doing dodge and burn, so I mostly do my dodge and burning in a black and white, with a black and white layer on. This is a help layer, also a curve layer, what makes things a bit darker so you can see where the problem areas are. And a grain. So if you come closer, you can see a bit of grain. Just make sure that you don't go in too much of a detail, that you only look at the real problem areas. So I mostly start with the dodging, so making things lighter. And some people will start dodging and burning at this level, zoomed in. I don't know why, because there is so much to do when you look at it like this. And I think you're gonna be busy for a few hours, if not a whole day. I always start with the picture zoomed out, like this. You don't have to do it this way, but this is how I do it. I use a brush, white in front, opacity at 100%, and the flow I put at 1%. Why I do this zoomed out is because I now get a global view of how where the problem areas are. You see some dark patches here on the cheek, mostly next to the mouth. On the forehead, you see some little things here. Next to the nose, under the eyes, you see some eye bags. And what dodging and burning is for, is to make the picture a bit smoother, and cleaning some things up without destroying the whole picture and making it look like she has a pancake face. I call it that. When you zoom in, you see little patches of dark that you want to remove, like here. But I will start zoomed out, and I will speed it up in a minute. But first you can look at what my first strokes are. It's just getting those really obvious dark patches gone and light patches in the skin. The eyes, it's not only dark, there are also some light things that have to be removed. So as you can see, I already did this. And this I repeat in another zoom level, so I come a little bit closer, not too close. Well, same mistake as in my Dutch video, just too enthusiastic. And then I continue the work. So the dark patches obvious, I'm making lighter with my brush on the dodging layer with the white brush. So I'm going to speed the video up again, and you will see me zooming in, zooming out, and checking my work. So I will put on some music for you. This is what I do in a nutshell. At the end of it, I always do some work when the picture is in color, so that I can see if it really worked. This is what I did in the Dodge and Burn. I see some things that I want to remove. You can always do this in the layer beneath the dodging and burning, because I use empty layers above my background. Non-destructive way of photoshopping, retouching. You can go back. So a little bit zoomed in what I did. And I think that it was in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. And now I usually go to the next step. And that step is or loved or hated. It's frequency separation, and a lot of people use it the wrong way and just make the whole face flat. I did not use it for a while, but in some cases it's very handy to work with. It's not a wonder tool. You have to be very cautious where you use it and where not. So first of all, I'm gonna make a copy of my photo that I have now. So there's no difference between this or the underlying things. With frequency separation, it's the same thing as with dodging and burning. You can find actions all over the internet. Some are paid, some you have to, some are free, and you can find things how you make it your own. You can make it on your own. Retouching Academy in the beauty panel has a tab for it, 8-bit, 16-bit, and that's about. I have a 16-bit photo, so I could use this one, but I usually use my own action. And as you can see, if I turn this off, it makes no difference with the underlying layer. Nothing. And in this layer, there's only color info. It's very blurry image. Then you have an empty layer and you have a texture layer. And here it will have all your texture info. So that's what it separates, your color from your textures. If I turn it on again. You can work on the texture layer. I would not recommend it. You should have all the texture issues you could have done over here in the cleaning up layer. If you see some things, you can do that in here. Maybe I will show you later. But I work on the empty layer in between the two. And what I do is not paint the whole face with my brush, but I only use it to soften the transitions between dark and light. So I will show you. I will get my brush. I will make sure that when I select a color with my Alt, that it will sample a 5 by 5 pixel average. So you don't have one color, but it takes yeah, I don't know how you call it in English, but it will make a mix out of the 5 pixels around where I select. So it will be a better color to use. So this is what I do. And every time you lift your pencil of your mouse or whatever you use, make sure you sample a new color from where you're busy with the photoshopping. And this also works better if you zoom out a bit and make sure you use the right size of brush. So as you can see, I'm just brushing over the transitions and not over the complete face, just where darker spots go into the lighter spots, and then you soften up the transition. So if you're brushing on the forehead, you can use a bigger brush. If you're brushing around the eyes, use a smaller brush. Around the lips, also use a smaller brush. But this is how I use frequency separation. Not to paint the whole face, but just the transitions. Here you have a big transition in the neck, so you can soften that up also. just to make things look a bit smoother. Doesn't have to take a lot of work. If you use this for other things, you can make another layer, paint on there. That doesn't make a difference. I will have a look if I can find some texture things that I can address here. Now, if you see this spot, this little spot over here, if you work on a texture layer, you can copy this, but I will show you something. I will take a good sample here. Great, a good patch of skin here, and I want to copy it over this. Watch what happens. Oh no, no. That is because my brush is set to current and below, so it will take everything around, everything that's under this layer. What you want to do is take current layer, and you will only copy from the texture, and you will only paste on the texture. So try this again. Take a good patch and brush over it. So you can, this way you can clean up some of the texture things that still annoy you, which you didn't get in the first cleanup, or what is more difficult to get in the cleanup. You can do like this. So for some purposes, this is a great tool, as you can see. Mainly forehead issues. Okay, continue. So that was my frequency separation. And so after the frequency separation, I put a new layer, and I'll make it a soft light layer. This is where I am going to put shadows where I want shadows, and put highlights where I want highlights, or emphasize them where they already are. So I will set my brushes to default, black and white brush, and I put my flow to 100% and the opacity to 4%. And also this I will do in the zoomed out view. Here I'm gonna contour the face. A bit, so making things darker where they are dark, lighter where they are lighter. But first, the shadows. If you're working in a studio, you usually use big lights with a lot of strength. So you will blast the model in the face with some light, and everything turns flat. So I use this to contour the face and give the picture a bit depth back. Usually I use some gradient around 15% black for the lower area. So this becomes dark instantly. And just like with the other things, I use this tool to make some things look softer. The transitions, or emphasize them. Now I'm highlighting some things that, like the cheekbones. And it's not that I'm painting it in, it's already there, but I'm just bringing it up a bit. We call this the T-zone from the in the face. I don't know what it's called in English, but it's this. And let's have a look what I've done. I also want the hair to be a bit more contrasty. So I use it here also. And now this is a picture I've worked with a great makeup artist. So not much work to do, but that depends on who you work with, what kind of lights you use, the model skin, of course. But mostly I'm lucky. We always ask the model or the modeling agency for girls with nice skin. And everybody can have a pimple now and then, but that's easily fixable. But for beauty, you need a good skin. So this is what I've done with the dodging and burning the second time, the contouring. And what I do next is making some luminosity masks. Also, you can find this on Google. Please Google it. I have an action for it. It will dissect my picture in some different luminosity channels. So I will show you. I have it here, luminosity masks, and I will let it run. Okay, it's done thinking. I will save in the meantime, because don't forget that. You can also, in Photoshop, you can preferences, and I think it's file handling. Automatically save recovery information every 10 minutes. You can set it to 5. I have it at 10. But when you're just doing dodging and burning for like 10 minutes and everything will, your computer will crash and everything is gone, I can guarantee you don't want to do that 10 minutes again, because it's not a lot of fun. So, luminosity masks made a few channels for me. Lights, bright lights, super lights, darks, darks, shadow darks. This is an action I got from Pratik. I love it. So I'm not going to share it with you. You have to get it from him if you want it. So what I first do is with Control and click, I select the shadow darks. Then I make a curve layer, and you see that the selection is white, so everything I do on this curve layer will show up in the shadow darks. I already did a picture before this in Dutch, and I made a curve preset already, shadow darks, Tessa 1. So if you can see what happens, it is a bit darker, and I lowered the reds a bit in the shadow parts. And then I'll get the bright lights. And I usually, another curve layer, I usually make this a bit lighter, and sometimes a little bit, but I add a little bit blue, but now I only will lighten this. So these are my luminosity masks. And most of the time, the only thing left for me is to make a levels layer. Scooch this in a bit. And this side. So I have a more contrasty look. And this is my workflow in a nutshell for you guys. Again, sorry for my English. It's terrible, I know. But most of the things you see here, they are in English, so you can follow me anyways, I think. And please hit the like button if you want more videos like this. Let me know. I will try to better my English. I will get a tutor or something. But hopefully I helped you a bit with my workflow. If you want something specific, let me know. And see you guys later. Bye.